every color we unite, together we shine, bring the light. Through stormy weather, through the pain, with open hearts, we'll break the chains. It's you and me, we'll stand so tall, in the rainbow's embrace, we'll never fall. Hand in hand, we'll share the dream, a tapestry of love, woven at the seams. With every hue our voice is strong, together is one, where we all belong. It's you and me, we'll rise above, in the rainbow's embrace, we spread our love. In every corner of the earth we sing, a symphony of hope that unity brings. With every color, let our love soar, together as one, forevermore.
Good evening and welcome to the Universal Rainbow Faith Church right here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
In every color.
My name is Paula Sadler and I am the founding minister and president of Universal Rainbow Faith Church, and we are so grateful to be here with you on this July 13th, 2025. And welcome on YouTube, welcome on Facebook. We do apologize. We are not on TikTok today. We actually won't be able to be allowed to be back live on TikTok until about 15 after 6 o'clock. Last week there was a little snafu and we were talking about some deep and meaningful conversations regarding, we'll just say 2020, 2020, and a remote viewing session. If you would like to hear all of that full service, I invite you to check out our YouTube for last week and listen to our final take on our topic that was about power and prophecy and remote viewing. It was a wonderful talk, and about 45 minutes into the service, we got flagged somehow on TikTok, and our service did not get completed. So I do apologize. So anyone tuning in this week that would like to see that wants to know about the controversial nature of what I was speaking about, which it wasn't controversial at all, it was just spiritual truth, tune in to our YouTube for all of our collection of services. And I'm so excited to be here with you and sharing my spiritual truths and what comes to me that is also so deeply a part of the Universal Rainbow Faith about speaking truth. And so our theme of the month is reflection and empowerment. And our saint this month that we continue to recognize is Saint Marsha P. Johnson, the revolutionary of love. Our focus this week is courageous love and standing in truth and justice. And this is week 1 in our new series of the sacred act of showing up. I hope you enjoyed our pre-service music that was embracing togetherness, our original URF worship anthem, which you can listen to not only on YouTube under our sacred music collection, but also on TikTok as well. And coming soon will be a new album on our website, universalrainbowfaith.org, that you can actually purchase all of our music together and make that as a donation to support our ministry. And so welcome everyone. Our mission statement. Universal Rainbow Faith is a sacred spiritual home where LGBTQIA+ people and allies are fully affirmed, celebrated, and protected. We believe that gender, love, and identity are divine expressions of the Creator. Our mission is to uplift, heal, and empower individuals through spiritual truth, radical inclusion, and sacred community. And here at the Universal Rainbow Faith Church, we are activating the rainbow light of love to affirm the sacredness of every person, especially those long denied, excluded, or erased. We exist to heal spiritual trauma, celebrate LGBTQIA plus divinity, and restore dignity to all people across body, mind, and spirit. And so we affirm the activating presence of sacred power within us. We are the living light of transformation, resilience, and divine justice. Together, we rise with love, truth, and purpose. And let us take a few moments to center ourselves and do our centering breath. And as we breathe in, we remember we are divine. And as we breathe out, we release the fear. And as we breathe in, we claim our sacred light. And as we breathe out, we share that light with the world. And we have our announcements this week. So we are in week 1 of our new series, The Sacred Act of Showing Up. This month we will be exploring what it means to truly show up for ourselves, for our communities, and the world. And each week honors courageous love, sacred resistance, and spiritual empowerment. Today, as we look at courageous love, standing in truth and justice, our new series, we will reflect on bold spiritual action, honoring those who have shown up in truth and love for the LGBTQIA plus liberation and justice. And we celebrate International Non-Binary Peoples Day, July 14th, tomorrow. This is celebrated globally each year on July 14th. This day uplifts non-binary people and affirms gender diversity. At URF, we honor non-binary individuals as divine reflection of God's infinite image. And you can learn more about all of our observances at universalrainbowfaith.org/Holy Days Observances. And as a member of the Universal Rainbow Faith Church, you can also claim your letter of spiritual religious exemption and request that day and many other days off to honor all of our observances as a member of URF. We have some new blog posts. Check out. They said they wanted to protect our children, but where was the real protection? And also, Visions Beyond the Veil, a conversation and viewing prophecy that is online on our blog section. It's on universalrainbowfaith.org. On the homepage, on the top right-hand corner, just select the drop-down menu and blogs, and you can see our blog and see all of our blogs with many wonderful articles that are available. We continue to celebrate Saint Marsha P. Johnson, the revolutionary of love. So please join us in acts of joyful resistance, truth-telling, and honoring Black trans leadership this month. Our weekly sacred reading, The Nature of Miracles, reminds us the word compassion is more than sympathy. It is more than understanding. It is willing to walk in the shoes of another, or in some cases, in the heels of another, with dignity, not pity. From page 81. We have new music, which was just released today. We have our new worship song, We Show Up in Love, which we will be listening to. You can check that out on TikTok and also on YouTube under our Sacred Music playlist. Stay tuned for next week's powerful guided meditation, Activating Inner Truth and Bravery. We have our TikTok announcement. We apologize for last week. Our TikTok live was stopped due to discussion of a remote viewing experience from 2020. We have issued a spiritual disclaimer on our site and all social platforms, and a video explaining our educational outreach. There may be times in the future when we pause TikTok Live for certain topics, and we invite all of last week's viewers to watch the full July 6th video on YouTube. We invite you to get involved and stay connected. Subscribe to our YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Give your tithes and offerings at universalrainbowfaith.org/give or on our homepage Donate, where you can explore also new blogs, observances, and our full service archive at universalrainbowfaith.org. And that is all of our announcements for this week. I hope all of you out there are having a wonderful month. As we celebrated the 4th of July recently, not only claiming our independence, but here at the Universal Rainbow Faith, our spiritual liberation and independence for all in our community. And with that, we have a very special reading for Non-Binary Day for tomorrow. Special reading honoring non-binary people, sacred reflections, history, and prayer. What does it mean to be non-binary? Being non-binary means identifying outside the conventional categories of exclusively male or female. Non-binary people may embody aspects of both masculinity and femininity, neither or something entirely different. Gender is a spectrum, and a non-binary identity reminds us that divinity cannot be confined to binary boxes. In many ways, non-binary people reclaim a sacred truth long erased by colonial and religious oppression, that gender is fluid, holy, and diverse. And today, not only within our own community, within the LGBTQ IA+ community, but in general, I've heard comments like, one person said online, "Oh, I can't stand this alphabet soup of letters of people." And this was actually from a trans woman, someone I knew who was in transition, but I'm really not sure of their gender status myself, so I'm not sure how they can even make comments like that. I'm not really sure if they're actually trans or non-binary, but they're somewhere in there. And it's really shocking even from the community to get those kind of comments. And then, for people outside the community, some of them are completely perplexed by anything other than heterosexuality. They just know very, confined, restrictive ideas of what gender is or sex, and also very specific roles in which they feel men or women should fall into. And we know that there is a huge spectrum of masculinity and femininity among heterosexual people and also LGBTQ people. Just being female doesn't necessarily mean someone is completely so feminine or falls into stereotypes of what or classical, terms of what we think of as a woman or femininity. And the same goes for men as well. But there are very rigid gender profiles that so many people try to fit into. And, there's so much more out there. And what I say to our own community is just have an open mind, and also respect and dignity and reverence for another human being's experience. It may not be your experience, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to fully understand it, and you may never. But just simply acknowledging another human being, saying, "I love you," no matter how you are or who you are or how you present yourself, that they have something valuable and beautiful to offer their community, their family, their friends, the world. And it's not up to anyone else to judge such a situation. Whatever clothing somebody chooses to wear, or if they wear makeup or a wig or no makeup, if they wear what we see as traditionally male clothing or female clothing, whatever that is, or if they like pink, or they like blue, or they like fuchsia. I will tell you this, that the hatred and the vitriol and the prejudice and the anger that I've seen towards just a human being expressing themselves in fashion or makeup or none of that, you know, that is a sadness. That is such a tragedy that we have not only in the United States but throughout the world. And I ask you, does wearing a dress, or does wearing a wig or makeup, or or for women to wear pants or traditionally male clothing, is that causing all the problems that we see in the world? Is it actually causing any problem? Is it an act of violence? Is it an act of uh, what some people will call immoral behavior? Can it be right or wrong to wear certain kinds of clothing and express yourself in such an artistic way? Absolutely not. And so we really need to educate others and have an open mind. So I implore everyone in our community and allies and those outside of the LGBTQ community to just have an open mind and have a little self-respect and dignity, and also the same self-respect and dignity for your neighbors or your friends or for your child who may be different. And their difference is not something to be hated. Their difference is something to be celebrated, to be inquired about, and to be celebrated. And so, a little brief history of non-binary identity. Non-binary identities are not new, contrary to popular belief and what we've seen. Across time and cultures, diverse gender expressions have existed and have been revered. Some examples are indigenous North American tribes, the Two-Spirit people that held ceremonial and leadership roles. In India, the Hijra community that has existed for thousands of years and is recognized as a third gender. And most recently, I read an article where in India, they recognize transgender women as women. And that's as it should be, to be afforded all of the rights, whether that is through marriage or through a certain way of dressing and being, and not to be exploited and victimized and to be beaten, raped, or murdered, and these terrible things that happen to transgender and non-binary people due to other people's hatred. So way to go, India. In classical Judaism, 6 genders were acknowledged in Talmudic law. In the Pacific Islands, in Samoa and Tonga, the Mahu and Tahiti have long expressed gender beyond binary forms. And I'll try to pronounce this right. It is the Fa'afine and the Fakalete of Tonga. These identities were seen as spiritual bridges, holding wisdom, creativity, and sacred roles in society. Colonization, religious dogma, and transphobia have attempted to erase this history, but this truth lives on. And in our modern recognition and advocacy, according to the Human Rights Campaign, HRC, and Wikipedia, non-binary people continue to fight for legal recognition, healthcare access, and dignity. Many countries now allow a third gender option on legal documents. In the United States, several states have added X as a marker on IDs. The movement is global, but of course we have seen much of this being erased or reversed in the recent months. Notable non-binary change makers include Jonathan Van Ness, author, activist, and star of Queer Eye, who uses they, he, and she pronouns and educates the world on HIV awareness and LGBTQ plus issues. Alok Ved Menon, poet, fashion icon, and speaker whose work centers the beauty and trauma of non-binary existence. India Moore, actor and model known for their work on Pose, who amplifies trans and non-binary voices in fashion and film. Sam Smith, Grammy-winning singer who publicly has identified as non-binary and uses they/them pronouns, opening dialogue in mainstream music. These individuals are living proof that gender diversity is a gift to humanity, not a threat. Our sacred proclamation. We, the people of Universal Rainbow Faith Church, do hereby proclaim that all non-binary people are divine expressions of the Creator, radiant with purpose and beauty. That gender identity and gender expression are sacred elements of one's soul path and must be protected, affirmed, and honored at every level of society. That violence, misunderstanding, and dehumanization directed towards non-binary people is not the will of God, but rather a violation of spiritual truth and human dignity. That we commit ourselves as a sacred community to uplifting non-binary voices, protecting their rights, and restoring ancient truths that honor gender diversity as holy. Affirmation for non-binary sacred identity. I am divine beyond definition. I am sacred beyond category. My truth is infinite. My spirit is radiant. I walk in beauty. I speak with truth. And I shine with the Creator's light. And so it is. Our prayer for the non-binary community and for all who seek understanding. Divine source of all gender, light, and love, we come before you today to honor the sacred journey of non-binary people. Bless them with strength, safety, joy, and purpose. Surround them with allies who listen and act. Shield them from violence, hatred, and ignorance. Lift their spirits when the world misunderstands them. Grant them spaces to breathe, to be, and to flourish. To those who do not yet understand, we pray for open hearts and open minds. May you see through the eyes of compassion and know this truth. Gender identity and expression are not the cause of violence. Hatred is. Non-binary people are not a threat. They are a gift. They carry ancient wisdom, a tribal knowing, a spiritual flame that reflects the Creator's infinite diversity. May we see every being on this planet as sacred and divine. May we walk gently with one another on this journey of becoming. So it is, so we believe, and so we shall act. A woman, amen, and a them, aho, and blessed be. So thank you for joining with us today in this very special reading honoring non-binary people and Non-Binary People Day tomorrow on July 14th. Our saint reflection this month for Saint Marsha P. Johnson. As we honor Marsha's life, legacy, and sacred resistance, we affirm, I am radiant with sacred defiance. I rise with love and truth. I am radiant with sacred defiance. I rise with love and truth. And our Nature of Miracles reading from page 81. The word compassion is more than sympathy. It is more than understanding. It is a willingness to walk in the shoes of another with dignity, not pity. And our affirmation, I walk in compassion and dignity. I walk in compassion and dignity. And now for our message today. Courageous love, standing in truth and justice. Week 1 in our new series. Beloved community, this month we step into the sacred practice of showing up, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, and truthfully. We began our new July series with deep truth. Courageous love is the kind of love that shows up when it's the hardest, when the stakes are high, and they are high now, when others stay silent, and when justice demands a voice. Your voice, my voice, our voice. As LGBTQIA plus people and allies, many of us have been taught to shrink, to be quiet, to avoid conflict, to stay safe by staying small. But beloveds, I tell you, our souls were not made to stay small. Our love was not made to be hidden. In my book, The Nature of Miracles, I wrote, the word compassion is more than sympathy. It is more than understanding, that it is a willingness to walk in the shoes of another with dignity, not pity. This is the kind of love we are called to embody right here, right now, today. A love that walks alongside, not above or apart. And a love that says, your struggle is not beneath me. It is part of our sacred story together. That kind of love, my friends, takes courage, and it will take all the courage that you have. International Non-Binary Peoples Day is tomorrow, July 14th, and it exists to affirm those whose genders do not fit within binary boxes, as we talked about. And it's a reminder that divine love is not binary either. Love is fluid, bold, expansive. It's just like our spirits, and it cannot be caged. If you've ever felt erased or unseen, let this be your truth. Your presence is prophetic. Let me say that one more time. If you've ever felt erased or unseen, let this be your truth, that your presence is prophetic. You don't have to do anything but simply exist. And that existence becomes an act of sacred resistance right here and right now. As we look to Saint Marsha P. Johnson this week, we also continue to honor her and our divine guardian this month. Marsha didn't ask for permission to exist. She didn't wait for institutions to validate her worth either. She showed up with flowers in her hair, with joy on her lips, and with defiance in her truth. Marsha reminds us that courageous love isn't always soft. Sometimes it throws bricks at injustice. Sometimes it dances in protest. Sometimes it's as simple and as powerful as showing up and saying, I matter, I am divine, I will not be erased. As we look at trailblazers of courageous love, we know that this is the way forward for our community, that we must now be the trailblazers of courageous love as these 3 sacred examples of love in action. Bayard Rustin, a Black gay civil rights leader and organizer of the 1963 March on Washington, once said, we need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers. He lived those words, pushing for racial justice and LGBTQ plus dignity long before it was safe to do so. Sylvia Rivera, a fearless trans activist and co-founder of STAR with Marsha, declared, we have to be visible. We should not be ashamed of who we are. Sylvia refused to let the LGBTQ plus movement ignore the most marginalized, transgender and homeless youth. And Barbara Giddings, a cisgender lesbian and powerful ally to trans people, organized the first lesbian civil rights demonstration in the US and helped remove homosexuality from the DSM. She said, "Equality means more than passing laws. The struggle is really won in the hearts and minds of the community." She showed that allyship means using privilege to open doors for others. And I'd like you to take a moment to ask yourself, where have you had to show up with truth and courage and faith, even when it was difficult or unpopular? And that brings to mind my time here in Las Vegas as a new business owner in 2004, opening in Commercial Center a little beauty salon. And I remember when I opened, I was so excited to be here and to be having my own space. And within about a year or two, I just noticed that there was a bad reputation of the area, although there was about 200 open businesses, and I just didn't understand what was really going on. And when I began to really look around, I noticed that there was some graffiti on the alleyways and weeds and trash, and it just needed some TLC. So I proposed at the time to start a business association. And really, all I was just a little beauty salon owner doing nails. I also had a house cleaning service too, called AbFab Natural, a little take on the absolutely fabulous show. And anyway, a friend had come up with that name for my cleaning business. But anyways, I used to go into people's homes, detox their homes, using all natural products that I made myself long before there were many of these other natural products that were out there, like Method and things like that. So anyways, I remember that I was inspired by a family of seagulls I found living in the shopping center that winter that I moved in. And I wondered what they were doing here. So I went to my book, Animals Speak by Ted Andrews, and he said that when seagulls show up, it means it's time for ecological cleanup, and that they stimulate nonverbal communication between people. The way that the baby bird pecks at the mama bird's mouth or beak at the red dot, and that's how they get their food. And so I took it upon myself to mean that it must mean it's time for a neighborhood cleanup. And so I proposed a business association. I went door to door to 150 to 200 people and invited them to a meeting. And I proposed we start doing a neighborhood cleanup project. And so I was determined, with or without the help of others, that I was going to do that. I didn't want to hear the kind of comments that I had heard in the past. People would say, "Oh, Commercial Center, is it safe there?" And because out of the 200 businesses, there was also some quite controversial at the time businesses like the Green Door and Gay Men's Spa and a few other type places. So it was really quite a mix, because just across the parking lot from that would have been several churches and a children's school. And, but truly, when you look at it, although we were kind of this enclosed shopping center, we took up 4 city blocks or more. If you had spread that out along a whole street line, and it would go on for about a mile or so, or half a mile, you could see all those kind of businesses in a city like New York or San Francisco or somewhere. There'd be a huge mix of businesses, and no one would think anything of it. Right next to a restaurant in Manhattan, I remember there was some adult bookstore or something like that, and there was like a bar next door and a restaurant where I'm sure families went and things. It was interesting. It's very, I guess you could say it was cosmopolitan. But nonetheless, all of this stuff was going on. And it was really quite unpopular at the time, and I would be out there painting over graffiti and pulling weeds. I had a volunteer come out and One business owner came out and said, "Who gives you authority to do this?" And I said, "I give myself authority." I said, "If you want to help, here's a paintbrush and a bag, and you can certainly, trash bag, and here you go, you can help." But he promptly walked away. And so I started a whole neighborhood cleanup project based on my interpretation of seagulls in the parking lot, which I later found, I believe they came from Mono Lake, California. I think that's the name of it. Anyways, and they've been coming here for years and years. But to me, it meant something. And I took it to heart, and I started a business association that has spanned over 20 years. And as a result of doing good in the community, I later stumbled onto things like a redevelopment and eminent domain. And I found out that there were powers in play and forces at play that were actively trying to devalue the property, to buy it very cheaply, to sell it to big billionaire developers for a greater price, and then an ongoing effort to damage the businesses that were here, to drive them out of business and drive down property values. And when I kind of stumbled onto all of this information through county websites and really looking at the history of everything and reading hundreds of pages of documents and educating myself about these things like eminent domain and redevelopment, I just became so, I was just so angry. I was so angry at the lack of care and of the abuse. And it just made me furious that people in power, in positions of power with money, and big billionaire development corporations and governments could be so harmful and hurt people in such a way. And so I prayed and I meditated and I asked for direction and guidance. And what started out as simply painting over graffiti and pulling weeds turned into a 20-year odyssey, 20-plus year odyssey. And the original mission statement that I wrote and vision statement for our neighborhood has mostly come true. And that, I know, is an affirmation of my worth and value, of what I came here to do, what I came here to be, what God would have me be and do, because I prayed about that. And being this little transgendered beauty salon owner and nail technician from Las Vegas, I was highly unpopular with many, but also had gotten so much support from allies at the time. And back then, I didn't run around, and I still don't, with a T on a T-shirt saying, "Oh, hello world, I'm transgendered, I'm this and that." It wasn't like that. And still, although visibility is so important, and we just have to have the strength and the power and the dignity to be ourselves, whoever we are, whether you are LGBTQ or not, but in a way with humility and reverence for all life and for others, and dignity and respect of other human beings as well. But I share that story because I showed up at that moment with truth. I had to have courage to even sometimes be the only one out there. Nobody else was going door to door, meeting the business owners and working with the local government and the agencies and the police department and the fire department and the public works and all of them. And I also had to have an incredible amount of faith. Even when it was unpopular, it was not the popular thing to do. And people tried to stop me. The government tried to stop me. Developers tried to stop me. They did not want me to clean up the area, to make it better, to market it and brand it, to bring people together, to network, to educate people, to do flyers, to do community art projects and festivals and all of these things, which uplifted an entire neighborhood. And at some point I thought, am I crazy? Why am I doing all this? Well, I did have a vested interest, my own beauty salon, but beyond that, there was something much deeper. And it was something calling inside of me. And that was simply God's will. When we pray for direction and guidance, be careful because it will come. And the answer is not always easy to do. And I had to pray for strength and guidance and courage and faith to go on month after month and year after year. And when I was fighting the big fights, I had to pray for help and miracles. And let me tell you, I've had to have some pretty big miracles to be here and do what I've been doing after so many years, because I was stopped dead in my tracks more than once, and I had to really contemplate if it was worth doing all of the good, just simply picking up trash or painting over graffiti or pulling out weeds or telling the truth about the situation and others when the truth hurt and when the truth also would free others, but yet may hurt me, and it did. And so I share that because there was a community in crisis and somebody had to do something and nobody was. So I showed up. That was my way of showing up as my full, radiant, transgender self when the world tried to silence me more than once. And so know that my story is a part of the tapestry of our story together here today. And may it remind you that your story matters too. Maybe someone tried to stop you, to erase you, to tell you that you weren't worthy of being loved, that whatever creator is out there, God, as you may call it, doesn't love people like you. So know that you matter, that all that you are doing matters. The most beautiful gifts you have to offer this world are yet to be manifested. They're going to come through you, of the living of your life, through whatever contributions you have to give to this world. For our young viewers that are watching, for our children, for our teens, our young adults, and for those in between, and even for our seniors. Your story is not over yet. Your story matters. Every kind word, every smile, every hug, the work that you do, every moment of your living life, of your existence, of your being, even if you do nothing at all except stand in your power, stand in your dignity, stand in your grace, stand with us together. By doing that, by simply being, that is the greatest gift that this world could receive from you, from our community, because there is a power of presence in your spiritual higher self that is resonating, it is vibrating, it is emanating out into this world, and it is cutting through all of the hatred and the ignorance and the prejudice and the bigotry and the violence that is happening here in the United States. It may be happening within your own home, your community, and the school you're at, and in the world. But your presence and your power will cut through all of that. You have to have faith and courage and know that you're not alone. So I ask you today, where is your courageous love needed right now? In your family or with your friends, in your community, or somewhere in the world? And what truth are you being called to stand in right now? What truth are you being called to stand in? And who might need you to walk beside them, my friends? Think about who in your life may need you right now to walk beside them, to hold their hand, to put your arm around their shoulder, to be with them with dignity, not pity, for that young child that's in your life, or that teen, that young adult. There is someone that needs you right now to walk with them, to help hold them up with your strength and your power and your dignity and your care and your unconditional love and your unwavering support for bringing truth to this world in a way that provides healing. So let us remember, we are the keepers of the light. Can you feel that within yourself? Do you believe that? That we are the flame of truth, and it is burning brighter than ever. And we are the embodiment of sacred, courageous love. I want you to feel that within yourself, that you are the embodiment of sacred, courageous love, that we, together, are the embodiment of sacred, courageous love, that no one can extinguish or take away. And our closing affirmation: my love is courageous, my truth is sacred, and I show up in power. Say that with me. My love is courageous, my truth is sacred, I show up in power. Amen, and so it is. And as we go into our meditation titled The Light of Courageous Love, take all of that in. I want you to take all of that in. Your love that is courageous, your truth that is sacred, and how you are now showing up in power in this moment, in your life, for yourself, for others, for the world that needs you right now. And so take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, gently let the body settle. Take another deep breath in, and now exhale and let your shoulders soften. Let your heart become present. And breathe in again, long deep breath. And feel the sacred light of love entering your being right here and right now. And breathe out, releasing fear, tension, and anything that no longer serves you. And now bring your attention to the center of your chest, the heart space. And imagine a warm golden light glowing there. This is the flame of your courageous love, a divine fire that cannot be extinguished. As you breathe, this light expands. It radiates truth, compassion, and resilience. It reaches every part of your body, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. Say softly in your heart, I am the light of love. I stand in truth. I show up with courage. And now imagine a moment, recent or long ago, when somebody stood up for you or with you. Feel their presence. Feel the love and bravery that move them to act. Now imagine yourself standing up for someone else. speaking truth, loving boldly, being a protector of justice and healing. Let the golden light in your heart grow stronger, connected to all those throughout time who have chosen to love when it was hard, to speak when it was risky, to show up when it mattered most. Breathe in again and breathe out. And as we close, know this: your presence is a sacred act. Your truth is holy. Your love is revolutionary. I am here. I am love. I am courageous. So it is. And now feel yourself coming back to this space and time. You can wiggle your toes, your fingers, being here, present in the here and now. And let us contemplate what we have just done together as we entered into the light of our own courageous love with the words of our newest song, We Show Up in Love.
We rise with voices strong and clear. In sacred truth we cast out fear. From every shadow we emerge, with hearts aflame and righteous surge. Together now we feel the spark, united front will light the dark. We show up in love, we stand in light, with courage bold we claim our right. No shame can bind us, no hate to find. This truth we live is pure divine. Non-binary souls and all who bend beyond the lines we've had to defend. God's image shines in every form, in every face. Love is reborn. Together we'll break through the night, with every heart that dares to fight. We show up in love, we stand in light, with courage bold we claim our right. No shame can bind us, no hate define. This truth we live is pure divine. This is the call of saints and seers to heal the wounds of ancient years. Together now we rise above, with open arms and boundless love. We show up in love, we rise in grace. Each one of us a sacred place. No more silence, no disguise. We are the light that never dies.
What beautiful words, and what a beautiful song that we show up in love. And I invite you tonight, tomorrow, this month, and always to show up in love for yourself and for others. And now we have our children's message, our message for all of our young viewers, our children, our teens and young adults. Know that we are all sacred, showing up with love. And our affirmation: I shine with truth and love. I shine with truth and love. And we have our time for tithing and offering. And know that when we give, we affirm our faith in love, healing, and sacred justice. And you can donate at universalrainbowfaith.org. And our affirmation for our tithe: my gift is holy, my offering is joy. And just know that this ministry survives completely on your contributions to keep our website up and running. We do have a new phone line as well for you to call. We have our location here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Right now we are virtual only and looking forward to growing in all the ways that this community needs, wants, and desires. And that will be completely based on your contributions and your tithes as we move forward in this time together. And our closing blessing, our affirmation: I walk in fire and love. My truth is sacred. I go in peace. And repeat that with me. I walk in fire and love. My truth is sacred. I go in peace. I hope you've enjoyed your time with us today, and I invite you to like, share, and follow on all of our socials. Mark your calendar for next week, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, and I look forward to being with all of you. I thank you for joining us, and for all those who will be watching this later, thank you so much for your support, and I hope that you have been blessed by this service and what you've heard, that you can take that with you this week and start using it in your life right away, right into here and now. And stick around afterwards. We will have our Meet the Minister little Q&A for a few minutes after the service. And feel free to join with us in our closing song, which is available on YouTube and TikTok, Embracing Togetherness.
In every color we unite, together we shine, bring the light. Through stormy weather, through the pain, with open hearts we'll break the chains. It's you and me, we'll stand so tall in the rainbow's embrace. We'll never fall. Hand in hand, we'll share this dream, a tapestry of love woven at the seams. With every hue of voice is strong, together as one, where we all belong. It's you and me, we'll rise above in the rainbow's embrace. We spread our love. In every corner of the earth we sing a symphony of hope that unity brings. With every color that love stored, together as one, forevermore.
So thank you, blessings, and namaste to all of you. And I look forward to seeing each and every one of you next week. Thank you for joining us here at the Universal Rainbow Faith Church in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you. And now we have time for our Meet the Minister Q&A. And let's see who is online, as we're going to change our orientation here so that we can speak with you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, let me find my chair. Wow, what a great service. I hope that you enjoyed that today. Welcome on Facebook. Hello. And welcome on YouTube. What a great service today. Learning about non-binary People's Day tomorrow, and so much that is going on. Okay, well, now is your time. If you're still with us and you're still watching, do you have any questions? So far, I don't see any messages coming up. But I will say just thank you. Thank you for your support. I invite you to go to universalrainbowfaith.org and just check out our website. There's so much information. There's so much there. And thank you for liking, sharing, and following and getting this ministry's message out to our entire community, that we are a safe and inclusive and welcoming spiritual community for everyone, that we are non-denominational, and that we are here for the LGBTQ IA plus community and allies, and for everyone seeking a spiritual way of life, for spiritual awakening and having spiritual experiences to awaken to their own higher self and their divine self through all of our teachings. And I just want to say thank you so much. There's definitely been a lot going on. I've been writing letters, a few updates. I have recently written a letter to the governor of Iowa. I've sent out letters to Pete Hegseth, also to officials in the government in Texas as well, recently about the devastating flooding that happened, about laws that were passed in Iowa about the children, about trans children. And I'm just writing letters and asking for government leaders and these people in positions of power in the government to really consider what they're doing and how harmful their actions are, and the severe amount of religious persecution that is being placed on our community. And it's not just upon the LGBTQ community, although we are highlighted in, recent erasures of whole people, and also in an attempt to erase our existence not only from the federal government, but in all aspects of daily life, of public life. And that also affects everyone else. So this is not just a fight for our community. It's truly a fight to stay alive and to have dignity and grace in doing so. So I bless all of those letters, and I pray that God's will be done, and that those that are doing harm in the name of their own God and in the name of what they call, what they feel is moral and doing good, and they truly believe it, but they're actually harming, that they come to the light, that they have a moment of awakening and reckoning for the harm that they have done, for the lives that will be lost, that are already being lost, and for the immense amount of struggle and suffering that they are causing so many to have. And it's not just in the LGBT community, it is everyone. Almost everyone is affected by this. Even the funny thing is, even people in their own community, they don't understand that the religious persecution that they're placing upon others is actually a persecution to themselves. And it will all be revealed, and it'll all come to be seen. And we're seeing that. We're seeing it unfold, and we're seeing how that karma is quick and swift, and that we cannot continue to harm other people, innocent people, and think that there is no reconciliation for that, because there is. Sometimes that does come in this life, sometimes it is in the next to be. But it's not for us to wish or hope for harm to others. But I do believe in accountability, and I do believe that for those who have harmed others, there must be a time of amends to be made. There must be a recognition of the harms done. It's like the 12 steps of recovery. I'm working on an article about the eight step amends for humanity. And it's not just what we're seeing in our own government right now. It's actually the whole world is needing it. The whole world is desperately needing 12 steps. We need the 12 steps for humanity. We need the 12 steps. One, to admit powerlessness and unmanageability. Where in the world do we see that? We see that almost everywhere. And step two, coming to believe in a power greater than ourselves. Well, the beautiful news is that many in the world do have a higher power. They do have an incredible faith, but it is the kind of faith that does not impress itself upon others. There is no forcing of beliefs to another. Rather, it's an invitation. And when faith and spirituality and religion are shared in a way that we're inviting others in and not persecuting them, then a soul has the ability to come into that space, and a person, a human being, consciousness, to see if that is what is resonating with their soul, and not out of persecution. We're not here to persecute anybody or to force dogma and religion upon them or beliefs upon them. One must come into that on their own. And in the third step, we turn our will and our life over to this power. Well, definitely, we have many people who are running around playing God all by themselves in this world, full of resentment and fear, and imposing their beliefs and their prejudice upon others, their bigotry and their self-righteousness, causing the greatest harms that we see in the entire world, everywhere. And in the fourth and fifth step, we make an inventory, a moral inventory of all of our resentments and fears. Could you imagine what would it be like if everyone in the world, all of a sudden, you started making these inventories? In 12 Steps of Recovery, the inventory process is, it goes something like, I'm resentful at so-and-so because they did this to me and it affects me this way. Well, in that very first part of this inventory, actually what we learn is that all of that kind of first page and what I just said, it's all part of the ego, it's all part of a lie, what's called the theater of the lie. And it's not even real, it's just based on fear and resentments. But what if governments and companies and organizations and people and your neighbors or your friends, they looked at that? They made a full list of everyone they've ever been angry with and had a resentment to in their whole life. Then they went on to make a list of their fears. What fears do they have? And then they have what they call the sex inventory, which has nothing to do with sex, but strangely and funny enough, it's on page 69 of the big book, the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. But it has to do with how we're treating others in intimate relationships, and there's a series of questions there. What do you think would happen? What an amazing process and journey that would be. Now, I do believe that many people dive deeply into these kind of questions about, when they're angry or when they have fear. In some spiritual traditions and religious traditions, they may get this through a form of confession, or through having a spiritual guide, or going to their tribe's medicine man or medicine woman. They have their own experiences. But I truly believe that if everyone were to do this, what an amazing experience that would be. Could you imagine the kind of list that people would have of who they've been angry with and why? And then it goes on. In 6 and 7, there's prayers that are done to become willing to let go of all of that and to give it to this higher power, to be relieved of all of these, what they call character defects, which is selfishness and self-seeking and dishonesty and fear. Our world needs that so desperately, and we can only hope and pray that that will happen in some way, in some fashion, maybe not through the 12 steps of recovery, but in some way. So I'm working on an article that will present that and make that available to all people. You don't have to be an alcoholic or an addict or any of these things. Just 12 steps for humanity. It's a beautiful process. And in the 8th and 9th step, we made a list of people we had harmed and we became willing to make amends to them. Could you imagine that? If everyone really looked at, well, who have I harmed by my behavior? And really getting to the truth of that and having the honesty of that. And then finally, 10, 11, and 12, there's this continued introspection into oneself's daily affairs of when fear crops up and when anger and resentment crop up and what to do about that. There's prayer and meditation. And then there's helping others and passing it on so that the next person, the next sufferer, can have a spiritual experience and awakening through the process of those steps. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's absolutely free. Can you imagine that millions of people have entered into 12-step recovery and been helped by another human being who's overcome their problems, completely free of charge? Now, within that, there is great power. There is such great power. No one has to necessarily spend 30, 40, or 50,000 going to, Passages Malibu or Betty Ford. Now, those places have, I'm sure, great and wonderful programs, and you can sit on the beach and you can make leather moccasins and you can practice yoga while you're eating a wonderfully curated vegan meal and having massages and steam, baths and all these things. That has a place, I'm sure. And maybe some people can go through that and they emerge new and refreshed, and maybe they really do overcome their problems. But when something is free, like the 12 steps, that that God is in that, because because spiritual experience and spiritual awakening is a gift from the Creator and from the divine. So I'm gonna work on that. I invite you to look into that. I call it 12 Steps for Humanity. So more information to follow. And I thank you for joining today, and I invite you back next week. And just blessings to you, blessings to our world, which needs it so much right now, that we need peace and enlightenment. And a special prayer to our government and to our president and to all world leaders is, may they find unconditional love and compassion within their hearts, and to truly become awakened and truly have an experience of the divine, in which they can look into the eyes of every other human being and see them for exactly who they are, and to have dignity and respect for each and every one of God's beautiful creations. And so it is. Amen. And I leave you with that prayer. I thank you. And signing off. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.